Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Herbie's Community Cooking Corner for November 14th, 2023. This is Herbie Allen, and, we do have a lot of parade of guests on this call, so I guess you can expect anybody. Today, I am actually in the kitchen. We're going to be cooking for you all. I will be, surprisingly. And yes, they actually let me out every once in a while to cook on my own call. And so we are going to do beef stroganoff and garlic bread, homemade garlic bread. Well, not quite homemade garlic bread, but how you can make it yourself if you want, if you don't want to buy the store-bought stuff, but want to take some shortcuts in the process. So easy peasy, as I tried to do on these calls whenever possible. Got a great set of talent for you here today helping us out with our pilot and co-pilot. Lucy over on the Zoom side, Tyann over on the Clubhouse side and stream as well. So thank you, ladies, for helping out as always. So let's get this show on the road. So I don't know if any of you ever listened to Courtney's call back when she did In the Kitchen with Courtney, but she did a beef stroganoff recipe. And this is pretty much the same one, just a couple of slight differences, but I thought I'd bring it back because A, it goes well with garlic bread, and B, I don't, if you did not listen to Courtney's call, you did not learn how to make stroganoff then, so you'll get a chance to make it today. So, I actually, so we can thank Courtney for this. So one of the big differences that I'm going to do differently than Courtney is back when she did hers, she used steak, and I have used that method before. It is really good that way. But I decided that for the sake of the call and for time, we're going to use stew beef. Something that I've talked about with Colby, and did get to use on one call, actually, when we did beef stew. But we're going to use it again for stroganoff. So why the stew beef? Well, it already comes up cut up and cubed, so the work's done for you. You just have to put it in the pot and get her sauteing. So that's the one thing I did not get out of the fridge. If stew beef is not an option, of course, like I said, you can cut up steak. You can, if you prefer. Where did my stew beef go? There it went. Let's see here. Okay. I'll talk about the stew beef in just a minute, what it looks like. If you can't use stew beef, of course, there is always ground beef that you can use. It would taste okay. I think the actual chunks of beef taste a little bit better myself. You can use whatever you have at hand. Of course, you can use any type of thing. You don't even have to use meat if you just want to use mushrooms and onions. Or you could use chicken. So there are definitely variants you can do with this. So the stew beef comes in a pack. I got the bigger sized pack because it'll permeate the stroganoff throughout. And I can feel, so you can hear the plastic bag. I'm going to take that off. That's what, the meat comes wrapped in, like the tray itself. And then through the tray, I can feel that the meat is cubed. So it feels very different from my other meat that I have in the fridge, including the ground beef, chicken, and whatnot. So just by feel alone, I can feel that the beef is cubed within the plastic wrap. So I'm just going to take a fingernail and, well, first of all, we got to get out our pot and we put in a little bit of oil to help saute the beef because we don't want things to burn. And I'm just going to use a little bit of olive oil for that. You may remember seeing that on the ingredients list if you are part of the ACB Cooks list. So, where is my olive oil? Oh, here is my olive oil. How do I know it's olive oil? Olive oil comes in a square bottle, usually. I've seen it come in both plastic and glass. This one is plastic. It has a little ring on the thing when you first take off the lid. So we gotta pull that off. Oh boy, it's going to be difficult. Okay. It's going to not cooperate. Alright, so there's a little plastic piece inside here that I was trying to get out. and we're going to have to just peel the plastic piece off itself. Okay, I was hoping to use the plastic ring to get it off, but no such luck. So now that that's done, I'm just going to pour some in the bottom of the pot. I am not using a precise measurement, so you can use as much or as little as you want. You don't need too much, but you don't want too little either. But you want it to coat like the pot. And so I'd probably about maybe an inch. I am using, you can use a skillet if you want. I am using a huge pot because everything will stay in the pot and not spill over when you're stirring. And that really can make life a lot easier. Whoa, and I'm dropping my olive oil. That's not good. Okay. But I have the lid on, thankfully, so no accidents. Putting it back in its place. And we're going to wash off the excess because I'd gotten done touching it. So, the pan to make sure it was where it should be. Okay. So now that that's done, we can attend to our beef, our stew beef. And by the way, I will mention if something interesting. So they were talking about on It's Electric last week how they used stew beef as a roast because it was cheaper and the work was, again, already done for you. It's already cut up. Now, people do, of course, have misgivings about things that are already cut up. Do they add anything extra or whatever? That's more than I honestly know. And I don't worry about that for things that are cut up. Because, So we're going to get this started. And I'm going to add in a little bit of garlic powder to the beef. And, it was suggested I use Worcestershire sauce for the beef. That would definitely be an interesting flavoring. I don't think we need it for this recipe, but I have used that on steaks and stuff. Now keep in mind, of course, you can add whatever you want to the beef seasoning. I'm going to add in a little bit of pepper as well. But, of course, it's going to, be blended in with other things like cream of mushroom soup and vegetables and stuff like that. So I'm kind of sauteing, seasoning it as it's the stove is starting to get heated up here. Now, let's talk about the stove because we had a very fascinating discussion last week over the fear factor and how that can play into cooking. So, me personally, I am perfectly fine with standing in front of a hot stove. The heat does not make me nervous. Same with an oven. So I can stand it. And I would say anybody that has the ability to, I think that you're better off if you can. But I realize, of course, that isn't going to work for everybody. So what if you are concerned about being in front of a hot stove or something like that? And you want to do this recipe. Well, one thing you can, of course, do is you could use the oven to, prepare everything. So that would be one way. And probably your best way, actually, as an alternative if you're concerned about the hot stove. But otherwise, again, if you use a pot, I guess I can see why it can be daunting, but it's going to be a little bit safer than trying to use, like, a skillet. I can, like I said, me personally, so you have to do, of course, what works best for you, of course, when cooking, but I just thought I would mention that, that can factor into some of my instructions with the less of the fear factor, so, something I never really give much thought because it's just part of cooking. So I'm adding in a little bit of pepper to the beef for seasoning. And, okay, that'll be good. So now you can probably hear it sizzling in the background. I'm going to get my spoon and start stirring it. I prefer a metal spoon. Some people do prefer the wooden spoons. I find that I can just feel better with a metal spoon. And it's just a lot easier to work with, a lot less cumbersome, not as awkward in my hand. And that's what works for me personally. So I'm just kind of stirring it up a little bit. Should turn on the kitchen fan. And of course, there's all types of seasoning you can add to the beef. And the Stroganoff recipe that I originally I knew about used like cayenne pepper, for instance, which is good stuff. But I don't have that on hand today, so I just use some regular pepper. Okay. So the next thing we're going to add in a couple minutes is the onions and mushrooms. But now is a good time for anybody with any questions or comments and on what we have done so far. So if you would like to, you can now raise your hand. And I just want to focus on what we've done so far, but if you have any questions or comments, and if you're cooking along with me, I'd like to know that too. So, Lucy, Tyann, do we have anybody?
Not yet.
All right. So I forgot to talk about the temperature. I actually did kind of put it on high. I really don't need to cook it on high. It's good to, get the oven started a little bit, but I'm going to move it down to like medium high. So let's talk onions next. Now, there are a number of things you can do with the onions. I mentioned that I cheat and I buy them pre-chopped. It is such a time saver that it's not funny. Plus, you don't have to deal with the aspect of the peeling and all that. But you can definitely chop an onion, oh, there are the mushrooms, with, if you don't want to buy it pre-chopped. What I like to do when I did chop them is cut them in half, and that made it easier to then cut the peel off. And then I would either chop them into quarters, or use like a food processor or a salad shooter. But then I discovered minced onions already in a tub. And boy, oh boy, does that make life a whole lot easier, because it's a resealable tub, so I don't have to use the whole thing if I don't want to. But there's just a plastic thing I peel off, then I take off the lid. And this is one from Walmart, by the way. But, and voila, I have a tub full of diced onion ready to go. And I just hold it over the pot and pour like that. And then I'll just feel around to get the excess onion off. No crying, no cutting boards, no sharp knives. And especially if time is a factor, you've now saved yourself some work and still have a wholesome meal ready to go. And now I'm going to stir in the onions. And now I'm noticing some of the seasoning spilled onto the burner of the stove. So let's talk about the stove, by the way, because of course placement of your pot is such a crucial thing. And I'm going to go over this again because I don't know if we have any new people that have not been on the call before or who are listening. So I want to make sure that we cover all bases here. So for those of you veterans, you can always plug your ears. So my stove is the old-fashioned type. It has physical burners. And what that means is you have your bigger burners for your larger pots. You have your smaller burners for your smaller pots. So you place it on the stove ahead of time before you turn on the burner. I've also got beautiful knobs. No buttons or anything like that. One of the best tricks I've heard for people with the flat surface burners is To know where the center is, turn on the stove for just a tiny, like a second or two. Then turn it off and feel where it starts to heat up. It won't be hot or anything like that. It'll just be very warm. And then you can know where to place your pot based off of that. I have honestly not worked with a flat top stove, so I'm just repeating what I have heard others talk about, but that is what I have heard.
You do have a raised hand?
All right, I do have a raised hand. Okay, let's get to the raised hand.
Elizabeth.
Actually,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
isn't about stoves, so finish your stove thing because that's a good intro. This is about the actual recipe, so I will mute and you can do your stove thing.
Well, we're actually about to switch to the mushrooms anyway, so now is a good time to transition. I don't have
good.
anything else to say on the whole
Then
stove
let me
thing.
make a couple comments about mushrooms and some other ingredient possibilities here. For people who like mushrooms, there are lots of different varieties out there, so you may want to experiment and find out and even use a variety of them as a mixture, and you could either substitute the mushrooms for the beef, or you could use a lot of mushrooms and less beef, or you could use a lot of mushrooms and chicken instead of the beef, like bone-in chicken thighs would work in this fine. They're cheaper than the flat chicken cutlets, but if
Boneless.
you want to buy chicken cutlets, you can buy boneless. I buy bone-in, and then I save the bones and make chicken stock, and they're cheaper, but whatever. So you can do that. The other thing is you can start off, this recipe didn't mention it, but you could start off and saute up like a bunch of onions and green peppers and garlic, and add that to the recipe. None of this is necessary. All of this is easy. You could probably use shrimp instead of the chicken or beef if you wanted to. I guess you could use tofu. This doesn't strike me as the kind of recipe that I would personally make with tofu, but you know, you could. And I've known people who make it with ground beef or ground turkey and do stroganoff that way. And then you can either serve it over a baked potato or noodles or mashed potatoes. So it's really a good recipe to know how to do because your variations are big. And finally, you could use Greek yogurt instead of sour cream if you want to reduce the fat. The flavor will be really good. It's still great. So, and you could always add a dash of Worcestershire sauce or A1 sauce to bring up the beef. So I will now leave, and hopefully those are useful things.
All right, thank you for that, Liz. And excellent tips there. Okay, do we have anybody else? All right, not hearing a call for hands. We will talk. Oh, what was that?
I said no. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and by the way, guys, before I forget, be sure to, that there is, one of the unspoken requirements of this call is you must listen to Lucy's Music Memories tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on MCBZI Radio. She will be spotlighting artists with November birthdays. So, you guys didn't know, you had no choice but to listen, right? Okay. So, anyway, bit of free advertising for Lucy there.
Yeah.
All right, so the mushrooms. Yep. So the mushrooms I got are the sliced mushrooms because I can just break them up and put them into the pot. And you can make them as big or as small as you want them, even with the sliced. You can just use your hands. So notice, like I said, with this recipe, you do not have to use any knives whatsoever. You can use your hands. I am making them as small as possible. I am not a big mushroom fan myself. And we will talk about the sour cream in a little bit here. Well, some of you know my very low opinion of that stuff. But I there are rules about not yucking somebody else's yum, and we probably might get tarred and feathered here, but suffice it to say that the way it works with the sour cream is somebody's, not mine, will actually have the sour cream, and they are more than welcome to it. So the fun part of this is, we do have the heat coming from the pot. I'm turning it down to medium so the heat is a little bit less intensive, and then we're going to probably don't need to turn it back up too much because the meat is largely cooked, and the onion, but we do want the mushrooms cooked. And green peppers, an interesting addition to the. So the sliced mushrooms, by the way, they come in the 8-ounce square, or more like rectangular containers, and they you can get them whole or sliced, or there's jarred mushrooms you can get too. So I'm throwing away the stems, which are the long parts, and just putting in the other part of the mushroom. This can be a little tedious because there's a lot of mushrooms in here, but we are getting them broken up. And, Neil Sedaka really did get it wrong, guys, when he said breaking up is hard to do. I don't know if his is a November birthday or not, but nevertheless, he did get it wrong. So, all right. We're going to get some of this into the pot here, so I'm just throwing the stems in the garbage. So what we're going to do is, what I find works best for me when it comes to the garlic. We'll come back to that. Green peppers. So that works for me because I am a fan of green peppers. I'm not sure if I've ever had them in stroganoff, but that would definitely be interesting. I won't put them in this recipe because my Chanel does not like them, and so that would not be nice to do that, but very interesting thought on that. And so we're just breaking up the mushrooms here. So then what we're going to add in is a little bit is the cream of mushroom soup, and what I'm going to do with that, though, is, and that's when I also will add in my garlic, I find it cooks better with the liquid rather than just adding it to the dry ingredients. And we're going to do that. And then, of course, we also need to get to our noodles. So I will talk more about those in a little bit. We'll be doing the traditional egg noodles that you use for stroganoff. All right.
I'm going to ask a question.
All right, she's going to ask a question. All right, we got a bad host here, but all right, go ahead.
Why do you throw away the stems? I use them.
I didn't think you use them. I didn't think you could. I didn't think they had any use.
Oh,
can you actually
use them,
safely?
yeah.
You use them? Okay.
Yeah, just wondering.
All right. Okay. Well, for that, no, I guess I won't tell on you today. No. All right. So, if I can use the stems, that makes this process a little bit easier. I always, because it's tricky to know. Sometimes there's stems you can use, stems you can't use or shouldn't use. But
right,
that makes
you have
this.
A raised hand.
I do have a raised hand. All right.
Matthew.
Excuse me. What type of mushrooms are you using?
So these are just the regular pre-sliced mushrooms that you get from the store. So just like your standard type, they're I don't remember, like, I'd have to go look to see what particular like they're your portobello type mushrooms. I do know they're not your magic mushrooms, so yeah, so don't go listening to Jefferson Airplane looking for mushrooms, guys. You know, because that we're not using those.
You have another raised hand.
All right, and I'll just say for those of you, you know, we're not using any white rabbit in this recipe either. Okay, let's get out of trouble.
Yeah.
Who we got?
Petra.
Oh, Petra, save us.
Petra, you're muted still.
*6.
Hey there.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, I thought I was
There you
unmuted
go.
and I already had asked my question. How much garlic are you using, and are you using minced garlic?
All right, great question. You can use as much garlic as you want. I'm going to tell you about another cool shortcut with garlic, but it's not the minced type. I use the already peeled garlic. So, we're gonna put it through a mincer. Minced garlic itself is more of a shortcut. I do not like how that stuff tastes. It doesn't taste like real garlic, and I don't know how to explain it. Maybe because it's the water that does something to it. But with the garlic, you can use as much or as little as you want. So, all right, now we're going to use my spoon to stir in the mushrooms. Now, one thing, I want to go back to the kitchen safety thing, because if you are not comfortable with dealing with a hot pot, then you probably would prefer a wooden spoon, just because of the heat factor. And we have somebody else?
Yeah, we had Merle, but he lowered his hand. But Merle, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I was just going to comment about the mushrooms again, about the stems.
Mm-hmm.
I usually just cut the very bottom of the stem off, and I use the rest of the stems. They're all mushrooms. So
Yeah.
And if you want to keep if you don't want to use the stems in that, you can save the stems, and then you can use that in a soup or something like that. You know.
All right.
Diane?
Yeah, I came in a little bit late, so I didn't. So Herbie, did you cut up fresh mushrooms, or are you using some kind of can?
I'm using the sliced mushrooms. So when you can get sliced mushrooms that come in a container. They're not canned. They're regular mushrooms that are just pre-sliced. So, I mean, it really doesn't matter. You can break up regular mushrooms with your hand too. And but they're pre-sliced, and so you can just dump them in, or I break them up a little bit myself, because I'm not a big fan of mushrooms, but I'll eat them in something if they're chopped up. So.
Okay, because I know Joe buys mushrooms every week and cuts them up. So yeah, thanks.
All right.
You are welcome. Mushrooms like that. Hi, Herbie. I had never seen soup like that when you make it like that. Did you cut the? How long does it take you to make the mushrooms?
All right. So the mushrooms are I bought them pre-sliced, so I just added them into the pot a little bit ago. So I'm just kind of stirring them in.
What are you making today?
Stroganoff. We are making stroganoff today.
If you'd raise your hand, that would be really helpful to speak.
Yes.
When you need to
so
speak.
if you're on Zoom, make sure you hit the reactions button, and you'll find the raise hand under there. But yes, we are making beef stroganoff today. So for any latecomers, that is what's on the menu, and I promised people that I'd send it to you all virtually. So, very good. Okay, so I kind of turned up the heat a little bit.
One more raised hand. Everheen.
All right.
Hi. So what? I forgot what spices you added besides pepper.
Garlic powder.
Okay. I was chatting to my sister, and she said that she adds ground coriander and some ground cinnamon. So, it sounds interesting. I haven't
Interesting.
tried it yet. I know
Me
how
either.
you and Chanel are fans of cinnamon, so.
Yeah, Chanel, I don't know if you're on here, but cinnamon and your stroganoff, but, alright.
Okay.
So what I am going
Melissa?
to, yes.
Yeah, when you are making the stroganoff, how long does it make for you to make the stroganoff? Because I love stroganoff.
That's
Stick around and find out.
Okay, Yep. Okay, so good question, though. Let's see. It is right now. Oh, 9:31. So we've been up here about half an hour sauteing the beef and the onions and all that. So, I'm going to let this cool off for a minute before draining it, because what I'm going to do is drain out the olive oil, and then we're going to add back in the cream of mushroom soup. So, while we're doing that, oh, do we have any other hands? You're unmuted, so I wasn't sure if we still had other hands or not.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. So, I've now got the package of egg noodles, and I'm going to get my pot over here, and the second pot. We're talking about magic mushrooms and pot today on this call. That's not good. I'm so gonna get in. Yeah. Oh.
You're getting me in trouble. I gotta.
Alright, so I was sampling the beef there, yes, to make sure it was good and cooked and all that. So we're going to cut open this package of noodles. I'm going to use my scissors and cut it across lengthwise. And the question is, of course, how much noodles do we need? Well, I will go ahead and use the whole pot because... whoa, it's spilling on the counter here. That's not good. I'll use this whole bag because the pot can handle that. If you want to have less noodles, of course, you can just do half. And reuse the rest for another time. And now we're going to add in the water. So most people will tell you add in the water, get it to boiling, then add in the noodles. That's great. Well, we don't need to do things that way because it's a little bit more hazardous. And we can accomplish the same thing by not doing it that way. So I'm putting the noodles in away from the stove, so no stray noodles will hopefully get on the stove. And then I'm going to now take this pot over to the sink. We're going to turn on the water, switch to filtered in this case, and now fill the pot up with water. And I'll be able to see the ratio of water to noodles because the noodles are already in the pot, so I'll see moving some stuff out my way in the sink. See the water level rising. So, and I can make sure that the water gets all over the noodles and stuff too, so they're already starting to soak. Now, a couple other things too that help with noodles is we're going to add in a little bit of salt that keeps them from sticking, and then just a tiny bit of olive oil. And this will keep them from sticking to your pot, and you'll be able to use them all. Okay. So this is filling up nicely. And Very good. Okay. So now
Okay,
I'm going
you have
to...
a raised hand.
All right, I'll get to it in just a second. Give me 1 second, guys, and I will get to you, I promise. Carrying a heavy pot to the stove here. Now, where's my salt? Where is my salt? Oh, there's my salt. Just going to put in a tiny bit, so let's make sure we have it. Okay. And as I'm adding in the olive oil, I'm gonna add in just a tiny bit of olive oil, like I said, to keep it from sticking. You can use vegetable oil, you can use peanut oil, and then I'm gonna get the water to boiling, and we're going to let her boil. So I'm just pouring in a bit of oil and just kind of using my hands to spread it evenly throughout the thing here. So, all right, let's get to our question.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Hey there. A suggestion about the noodles, if you're interested. I have done this, and it works really, really well. And if you want to do it, you can do this. You take a pot. You have a colander that you know is going to fit in the pot, so that the colander edge will not, so the colander won't sink into the pot, but it will actually fit along the edge of the pot, but the colander will be over the pot, if you can follow me. There are also pots that are made like this specifically to do this. And then you can boil the water, and you put the noodles, so you got the water boiling separately, and you put the noodles in the colander the way you would have done it. Just put the dry noodles in the colander or in the pot insert that has the little holes in it that fits into your pot. If you can get one of these pots, you're great. And then you put it in the boiling water, so you don't have to touch the boiling water, pour anything into the boiling water. And then when it comes time to drain things, instead of having to drain the noodles, you just pick the colander or the pot insert out and sort of hold it over the pot for a minute and let it, like, all the water drain off a little bit, and then run it to your sink, and you're not waving big pots of water around draining noodles. Does that make any sense, Herbie? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
it does. Excellent suggestion. I've heard of those pots too with the inserts in them, and they sound pretty cool.
They're really great
All
pots,
right.
and you can use them for lots of other things. If you ever find one somewhere, they tend to be pretty big, but they're really valuable to have as a kitchen thing, particularly for blind people.
Very good. Thank you for that, Liz. And do we have anybody else?
Not yet.
All right.
Oh, Petra.
So,
Sorry, Petra.
Petra.
I think what Elizabeth is talking about, we've always just called a steamer pot. It almost is like maybe a double boiler, where there's like two pots, but the one that goes on top has the holes in the bottom. And I use it to steam vegetables or all kinds of things.
Yes, but they're big. You can get them in different sizes. The ones for the pasta tend to be really big, and they're terribly valuable, and you will find all kinds of uses for them once you own one of them.
What's your definition of big? How many inches across?
Oh, 12 inches maybe, 14 inches, 16 inches. Some of them are big. Mine is pretty big, because the thing is, you're going to need enough water in it for the pasta. So, you need something that will be big enough to have pasta water in it. Although you don't need as much pasta water. Like they always say, you need 8 times as much water as pasta. I don't know where that came from, and I've never found that to be true. So do what you want with that. But they're very useful for lots of things. Steaming vegetables, boiling potatoes. There's just tons of stuff you can do with them. They're great to have.
All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is now do some stirring with these boiling noodles. That'll help them keep from sticking and make sure that they all get the water. One thing you have to be careful of, which I have done more harm to myself with this than even oil, is water vapor. And so where the steam will just suddenly rise up at you. That has been more hazardous to me. And in fact, even one time, it even happened to me on a call while making macaroni. That was not a pleasant experience. So, now the other question that I've gotten about boiling stuff is, how do you know when your water is boiling? Well, you're going to have some very good clues, like, is the pan vibrating? Like right now, mine is not vibrating, so I know that the water is not boiling. And I discovered that my pot was not center on the burner, so I have now fixed that, and it should get to boiling. Okay, we're now going to take our beef mixture and take it over to the strainer, and like I said, the purpose of this is to drain out the excess olive oil, and then we're going to put back in the cream of mushroom soup and let it simmer. And so now this will be a good time to see if anything is going to stick to the pot. It is not, I don't think. Let's see. There are some things that are wanting to stick. Okay. So we're just going to use my spoon to get any extra stuff off. And this will keep the stroganoff from being too, you don't want it to be too greasy. I mean, you can have it that way, but it really doesn't work well in my opinion if it's too oily or anything like that. So, so now I'm just shaking out the extra olive oil. All right, Amanda.
Amanda, you're still muted. All right, let's go to Merle.
Well, Herbie, are you just using mushroom soup in it, or do you make a roux for it first?
I will be using a mushroom soup.
And how much mushroom soup do you use?
Great question. Stick around. We're going to get to that in just a second. Alright, so I'm just kind of making sure that... And one of the reasons why I let this cool down is it's a lot easier to work out the... make sure the oil is draining. Alright, I should stop sampling, but... you know how it goes. Alright. And as the clock strikes the witching hour, we're going to wash out the bottom of the pot here.
All right, Diane.
Yeah, I missed the very beginning of the call, Herbie. So I'm wondering, like, did you get your... What kind of beef did you use? Was it already sliced or cubed, or? Did you,
yep, I used the stew beef. That's already cubed. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep,
thanks.
I used the stew beef. Yep. You're welcome. All right. Amanda, are you now able to unmute? I know you had a question.
Oh, she's back. Okay, Amanda, can you unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. I believe the pot that people are talking about is called a pasta pot, and typically they're either 6 to 8 quarts, and there's two versions. One has an insert that it's a strainer. Basically, it has holes in it. The second version is just a pot with a lid, and the lid has holes in it. And so you are able to lock the lid, and when you're ready to drain the pasta or whatever you have in there to drain, you lock the lid and you use the holes to pour the liquid out.
That's the one I have.
Oh, cool.
I love it.
Yep, definitely. Well, that is going to be on my Christmas wish list, is all I can say to that, because that'll definitely come in handy. All right. Thank you for that, Amanda. The pasta pot. All right, so we're now, I was washing out this pot, getting the extra stuff out there. So the question has come about how much cream of mushroom soup do I use? All right, so I use the family-sized can for that, and that'll generate enough liquid to give us our sauce. So what we're going to do is place this back on the stove, give our strainer one final shake, just to be on the safe side. And okay, whoa, got stuff falling out here. Now the other thing I need to do is check on my noodles. So let's do that before we get started here. Whoa. Okay. They are boiling, but okay. They are definitely in boiling water. Not quite making the boiling water sound I would have expected to hear, but I can tell by feeling with the spoon that they are definitely softer, which is what we are wanting. So, now let's talk about our cream of mushroom soup here. I'm going to get out my can opener. I use the manual can opener. There are various types, of course. And I'm going to put the grooves of the can opener on here, and we're going to turn. You know, because as the birds told us, and they were not the original to do so, by the way, so I won't give them full credit. Pete Seeger actually, I think, wrote the song, you know, to everything, turn, turn, turn. And that's what we're doing here with the crank of this can opener. So he must have had the can opener in mind, or was it the spinning earth? I don't know. But bit of a musical lesson for you all here on this call today. And no, it's not Lucy's Music Memories. It's but you can catch 80s and 90s tomorrow, where we will not be playing that song, because now I'm curious to see if there's an 80s and 90s version of it. The Byrds actually did perform into the 90s, so it's not impossible. Okay, anyway, guys, I digress. I'm going to turn. I poured got the lid off the can. I poured the mushroom soup into the thing. And I'm going to set the heat to about medium. And now let's talk about our garlic. So one of the best inventions they've come out with is peeled garlic, where it's done for you. All you have to do is put it in the mincer, so you don't have the extra water, but you still have the real garlic. So that is what we are going to have. Oh, and by the way, guys, I forgot to mention the other and perhaps just as important requirement is don't forget games to play with Lady A today with Lucy. So that's at 2 p.m. So I expect to see you all at both places. And make sure you bring your friends, your neighbors, your frenemies, your enemies for that matter too. You know, I mean, bring everybody. And because the more the merrier, right? And maybe not, I don't know. But we're going to cut off the... this bag has one of those seals on it. I'm just using my knife. I could have tried to find my scissors if I wanted to instead, but the knife works just as well. So now we've got actual garlic cloves. And not cloves as in clothes, but cloves as in cloves. If you want to know more about homophones, that's Mary's call, right after Lucy's call. Both of these, by the way, are also on Media 5. Now we're going to take out my garlic mincer. And this is, it kind of looks like, how to describe it? It has like shears maybe. So there's like a handle, 2 handles. We're going to put our cloves rather, inside. And I'm just going to do 2 at a time because that'll work best for this. And then hold it over the pot as I hear my mushroom sizzling and squeeze. Then open it, hold it over wise, and just peel, get out the, what's in the thing. Like the little minced garlic now is what we have over the pot. And I think I'm going to use about 6 cloves, so we're going to repeat the process 2 more times. But like I said, you can use as much or as little as you want. It is a matter of taste. So this will make it somewhat garlicky, and that's what I'm kind of going for. Gotta hide those
just learned
mushrooms.
something. I didn't know you could buy peeled garlic. I did not know that.
Yep, you can.
That is awesome.
It is. I get mine from Walmart. Yep. Yep. Spice World is the brand that has one. I've also seen one. Amazon Fresh also has a peeled garlic. So, yep, you can. See, guys, even if you can learn stuff from these calls, and we can learn from each other. So that is my garlic, and since it's already peeled, my life is a whole lot easier. And now I can just wash my hands. Put the bag up and get to stirring. We're now going to stir both pots. And let's see, what time are we at?
We are 10:52. Close.
All right, close.
We have a raised hand.
We do. All right, let's get to that.
Elizabeth?
Hey there. You know, it occurred to me that if you have leftover turkey after Thanksgiving that's already cooked, you could make the sauce. You could make all of this. You wouldn't have to cook your meat, but you could just add in cooked turkey, and I guess you could add in cooked chicken. But it certainly would be a good way to get rid of some leftover turkey and, go with that.
Well, I'll say this much. If anybody's baking over a hearthstone and you add in turkey and chicken, you're technically killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So,
Oh my. Oh, good.
Yeah. All right. So, thank you, Liz. And you'll never be the same again from this call, guys. Let me tell you. So the noodles are definitely now boiling. I can feel the vibration of the water through the spoon, even if it's not coming. Whoa, vapor is coming up. So I'm trying to. This one, if you're not comfortable with water vapor, definitely use a wooden spoon. I still prefer to feel what I'm doing. But I'm just giving it a good stir, and that'll actually take down some of the vapor here. As it's definitely boiling. So then how to tell if the noodles are done? I mean, it's just a little bit of guesswork, obviously. Same with this, as we're just now just kind of heating up this soup and mixing in the garlic, giving everything a good stir. And now we're going to turn off our water pot first of all. And if you have one of those fancy dancy pasta pots, then your life has just become a whole lot easier. Us old people here, on the other hand, for safety reasons, we're going to let it cool off for just a minute. But now we're going to turn off this pot too, actually. So for this, we don't need to, for this big pot now, we don't need to do any more straining because we're going to add in the things. Now,
okay, it's 55.
All right, so guys, before we go on, I want to first of all say goodbye to those of you listening on ACB Media 5. It's been great having you, but we've got to leave you. Your next programming will be Essential Oils with Haley at noon, followed by a game, Unmute Presents, games to play with Lady A, and then helpful hints on homophones. So Tuesday is a full slate of programming on Media 5. So if you have not already done so, you can subscribe to the ACB Cooks list. ACB is the owner of the list, so you just write to community@acb.org. And by the way, if you're not on the community call list, you can do the same thing, just include your name and email address and say I want to be added to the cooks list, or say I want to be added to the community call list. Either way, and just make sure you include your name and email address and they will get you added. Next week it's going to be interesting as Janine and I are going to be collaborating on meatloaf and turkey loaf. So make sure you join for that. If you want an interesting call, it's going to be that. Just with how Janine and I are. And we hope you'll be able, if you want to cook along with us, you by all means you can. And if not, that's fine too. So either way, we'd love to have you. So that's meatloaf versus turkey loaf. Cooking Corner meets Wake, Make, and Bake. And yeah, so that's gonna be on tap for you all next week. And that'll be the week of Thanksgiving, so make sure you stick around because we will have exciting things for you on Thanksgiving Day itself, I have no doubt. So now if you ask me, they should stream the football games instead, but I guess not everybody likes football. And then you run into copyright issues and all that type of stuff, so yeah. No, that really would not be a good idea, actually. No, if you could get some blind football announcers, that would be a totally different thing. Okay, I'm getting way off track here. So that's what's coming up next week. And so make sure you join us for that. And so we're going to continue on now with the call. Tyann will be hitting the bye-bye button at some point. And like I said, your next live programming will be Essential Oils with Haley at noon Eastern. All right, so right now I'm just waiting for the noodles to cool down for a little bit here so I can more safely pour them into a strainer. I'm going to use a different strainer than the one I used for the meat. I could wash it off, and the original one if I want, or I can use a different one, whatever works best for you. And then we're going to talk about how to serve the stroganoff, because there are two different ways you can do this. And this is one of those things that definitely comes down to personal preference. Before we... Yep, we have a question?
Yes, iPhone 171. I don't know who you are, so let us know. Go ahead, you're unmuted. No, wait, I lied.
Is this Danette? Is that me? No.
I don't know.
Well, we're hearing you, Danette.
Okay.
Well, you are on an iPhone, so...
Okay, yes, I am. So my hand was raised in Clubhouse for about 10 minutes, but...
Go ahead.
I am not seeing raised hands. I am sorry.
Because I lowered it and left. So, here I am.
All right.
Well, I've been checking off and on, so I don't know.
So Club Deck is being an idiot there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Instead of mushrooms, I'm not a big mushroom fan. Can you use cream of celery or cream of broccoli soup for that and leave the mushrooms out?
I don't see why you couldn't. It'll definitely change the flavor of it, but you
Yeah.
definitely could.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we are no longer streaming.
Okay, now in
All
Zoom,
right.
we still have iPhone 171 with a raised hand.
All right.
I sent you a unmute request because I don't know who you are, so. Okay, I don't know who this is, so.
Me either. All right, well, hopefully iPhone 171 you can get unmuted and then we can actually call you a name because I don't think you want to be known as iPhone 171. Or maybe you do, I don't know. One day we're going to get somebody labeled as iPhone or iPad and that actually will be their real name and we won't know it and we'll think that... Yeah, my mom named me iPhone when I was born, you know. And do you know anybody that would do anything like that? No. So,
what is this, like a boy named Sue? Come on.
Yeah, well.
Okay, wait just
that was you, Danette. Okay.
Who started to say?
It was me, Danette. I was the one you requested to speak.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, so now we know it's a real name. It's not Danette. It's not iPhone 171. Okay. Otherwise, you know, you sound like you're in prison or something like that. iPhone 171, step forward. Okay. So I'm now going to drain the... So I put the pot of the noodles on the back burner so that way it would be able to cool off. And needless to say, with the water and the noodles, this pot is a little heavy. I'm going to pour this... I have the strainer in the sink. And I'm pouring the noodles into the strainer. If you've not seen a strainer before, it has it's like a little bowl that has holes all the way around on the bottom and the side. My least favorite strainer was one I got that had like a mesh type hole at the bottom. That was not the most flexible, so I ended up not giving that one up a long time ago. So now we're just going to shake out the water, excess water, because there will be excess water. And I can kind of hear how watery it's sounding, and I can shift things around a bit and just roll it around and get more water out that way. So, shake it up, baby, now. Twist up. Oh. This isn't community karaoke. That's Saturday night. So, on that note, so there's two ways you can serve this. One of the more common ways is to put the noodles on a plate, spoon the mixture on top, and serve it that way. Or you can do something which I find a lot easier, tastes just the same, and makes it a whole lot easier to serve. Pour the noodles in with the mixture. And that's what we are going to do. So I am now going to pour the strainer over the mixture. And we're now going to just stir it all in together. And now you have pasta that is one big happy family. All in the same pot. But not Elizabeth. Again, not every... Elizabeth, yes.
Consider using serving bowls which are large soup bowls because this is like stew, and so it may be a lot better to do that. Now, if you're going to make so much that you're going to have leftovers, which probably, I don't know how well, you know, it's got sour cream, but if you're going to keep it, you don't want to put the noodles in with the sauce. Otherwise, it's a terrific way to do it. So that's really good.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about the sour cream in just a minute here. So stand by for that. All right.
Actually, if I have leftovers, I like to put the noodles in with it. I think it makes it taste better.
It does.
And spaghetti
I
also.
agree.
Yeah, the only thing is when it cools down and you have to reheat it, if the noodles have been in stuff, sometimes they get gloppy. So I don't know. It just depends. And by the way, you may undercook your noodles very slightly, because by the time you get through draining them, they cook in those few seconds that you're mucking around with. So you rather have slightly al dente than overcooked soggy noodles. I'm sorry, but I had to do that for the soggy noodles problem.
All right, good to know. So I've never had a problem storing leftovers with the noodles. It's always worked well. You can, and also I will point out that when you reheat them, you can also use the stovetop rather than the microwave, and it'll come out the way it was meant to. So I will throw that out there as well. So the sour cream with this recipe, we actually add it in last. And so what you can do, for people that like sour cream, they will actually have it in theirs. And for sensible people, we will not. And that's how that works, since it's not actually cooked into the dish. So I'm going to use a ladle here and put some in a bowl. And there, that is done. Now we're going to get out the sour cream. The debasement of all evils is sour cream. Let me tell you, folks, your life is so much better without it. And there are plenty of things that are bad for you, don't get me wrong, but... And, we've been so focused on the Stroganoff, I haven't even gotten to the garlic bread. Okay, let's actually get to that real quick, too, while we're at it. So I'm going to get my oven preheated. So what I got is, I've not actually tried this particular bread, but it sounds interesting. It's one that you bake as you go. So what I'm going to do is, and that's what can happen when you're doing a lot of things, is you can forget what it is you are doing here. So I will, let's address the bread right now. So I'm going to get out a cookie sheet. And so I preheated my oven to about 375. Then banging around here, but that can't be helped at the moment. Okay, so let's get... Whoa. Sorry about the noise, guys. Let's get that back in the thing. Okay, now let's put down some parchment paper on this sheet. And I had some pre-made parchment paper, but it seems to have disappeared, so I'm just using this regular roll that I have. And the nice thing about parchment paper is it's non-stick, so we don't have to grease anything or anything like that. So you can use pre-made, like a French bread that's already pre-made if you want to make things a little bit easier. I'm going to, this is a really long loaf, it's like a pre-made baguette that you bake. So I'm going to take it out its thing. And, okay, this is not going to fit on the sheet in its current state, so I'm already going to have to cut it in half anyway. So let's find a good knife. I don't think it'll affect the overall recipe too much if we cut it. I mean, we're going to have to cut it anyway, so. Just going to slice roughly down the center. It's a little bit of a best guess as to where the center is. Okay. So now I've got 2 halves of bread here. And I'm going to slice these down the center too. So we're going to have 4 bread halves on this cookie sheet here. So we don't need to completely slice it in half, but what we're going to do now is, remember that already peeled garlic? This is still going to come in handy because we are actually going to make real garlic bread. Well, I'm going to do two ways. One is going to have the real garlic. The other one will have some garlic powder instead. So, okay, that is pre-sliced. That is not sliced. Regular bread is a little bit easier to work with. But you can use... Okay, so I might go back to regular French bread next time. You can also use regular, like, loaves of bread. French bread can be a little bit more tasty, I think, but like I said, we're using a baguette. Okay, I'm going to slice this one this way. I don't have the greatest knife, but for this, that's okay. And all right, that is going to get done. So now we're going to get out the butter, and we're going to spread that all over the bread. I am using the tubbed butter because that is the easiest to work with, but that is what I recommend for something like this. All right, I'm going to move this pot out of the way. Also make sure that my butter is nowhere near the stove, as I do not want it to melt. Okay, did I turn on my oven? Yes, I did. So, whoa, got butter going everywhere. So the idea, we're going to use our butter, and then the garlic is going to stick to said butter. And, what did I do with my... Oh, there's my garlic mincer. Okay. I'm going to need you again, little mincer, so, all right. And of course you can use olive oil or something like that instead if you want. We're going to, like I said, I'm using butter, and that's what I think will work well for this. Now, that's one half of the bread. Now let's get to the other. Well, one half type, because remember I sliced it in half. Okay. Well, I sliced it in half, and then I sliced the halves into halves, so I guess between all that we'll just make a bunch of holes. So, there, I think that'll do for the butter. We're going to put that back in the fridge. Then we're going to get out our garlic once again. And again, you can use as much or as little garlic as you want, depending on how garlicky you want your garlic bread. But I'm also going to use garlic powder because for the other version, because it does taste different. And so you know, that will affect things. Okay, so I'm going to hold this over the bread loaf and then just kind of drop it in there. And I'm kind of spreading the garlic and mashing it into the butter. Again, our already peeled garlic, which Lucy did not know existed until today. And I am sure now she will be using it and talking about how wonderful I am for introducing her to it. Maybe not, but she'll be using it, I have no doubt. So, Anyway, delusions of grandeur aside. Okay, I think I do want mine a little bit more garlicky. So again, I'm using 6 cloves here. And, it's going to turn out pretty good. Now for the other one, the garlic powder. So I forgot to talk about my garlic powder. You know, it comes in the different types of containers. Mine comes in a rectangular container. You can also use garlic salt if you prefer, but you know, if you're watching salt content or anything like that, you do have to be careful. So I'm going to just spread some garlic powder around here. And make sure it's all mixed in with the butter.
All right, Heidi has a raised hand.
All right, Heidi.
Hello, guys. Have you tried it doing garlic and onion powder?
I have not. This
I
mine
think
is
actually
falling
that's
off
where
of
my
the.
grandfather made it. So, just a suggestion there.
All right, so my parchment paper is sliding off, but we're going to make the best of that. Hey, Google. Hey, Google. Set timer for 10 minutes.
Got it. 10 minutes. And that's starting now.
All right, so now that we're done with that, we may as well at least get our sour cream now dealt with and all that. So, do we have any other raised hands, first of all?
Well, as soon as I say no, something will pop up.
Yep. Isn't that how it goes?
Yep. Oh,
all right,
Elizabeth.
So, yep.
Oh, no, Nate, no, she doesn't have her hand raised. Never
No,
mind.
I'm sorry, I do. I
you
screwed
do.
up. I hit the wrong thing, and then I hit the wrong thing, and then I'm sorry. It's one of those mornings. Excuse me. I'm not okay. You didn't saute the butter and garlic together first. You just put the garlic right on the bread, right?
Yes, yes.
Have you ever done that before?
I have not, but that's definitely an interesting idea and something to try next time.
Well, no. Have you ever done it where you put it on raw the way you did? Have you made garlic bread this way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I never did it that way. That's interesting. I was always concerned when I saw 10 minutes that it wouldn't have time to cook thoroughly, but I mean, your way just gets rid of a step, so I like that. That's nice.
Yep. Well, definitely, you know, I mean, this is the type of thing you can experiment with, do both ways, see which way works best for you, and go with it. So, probably your way would make it a little bit less garlicky, I will say, than mine, like a little less pungent, but... Alright, so we're putting some sour cream onto this dish of stroganoff, and we're going to stir it in, and this way... like I said, she will get her sour cream. We don't actually have to store it in the leftovers, so we can actually store the leftovers safely and add sour cream to the reheated stuff, and that is how we do that and work around that problem. So, no, Chanel is not on here, is she?
No.
No. Okay. Didn't think so. So, that makes it so I can't yell, "Wife, come get your food!" Guess that's not a really nice way to do that anyway,
no.
but...
if the law were here,
No.
she would yell at you for that one.
Oh, okay. So you don't yell, "Kids, come get your dinner!"
No.
No?
No.
Okay. No.
No,
All
I
right.
just make an announcement.
Oh, there you go. But if it was a pre-Alexa days, then maybe you might have,
Okay, you got 10 minutes.
All right, 10 minutes. Okay, perfect. So we have to do it this way. The Stroganoff is ready.
All right. Shoot, I am all right.
Okay, we're cutting it close time-wise, but for her thingy, unfortunately, these things, it takes a little bit longer when actually doing this for a call like this, unfortunately, but
Yeah, I was thinking it's getting so late I'd rather eat after, but I can try a bite now.
all right.
Unless you won't.
No, you can try a bite.
Will you warm it up if it gets cold?
Yes. All right, so Chanel's going to tell us what she thinks.
I just got a piece of beef, but it sounds pretty good so far. Trying with some noodles. Pretty good.
Pretty good. All right.
I definitely like it with the sour cream because we've had it without, and it makes it a bit more messy, but more flavorful too. So.
All right. Whew, there you have it, folks. So I've been slaving away in this hot kitchen for the last hour and a half. So now we're just waiting for the garlic bread to be done.
And do you mind just warming it for me then when I'm...
Yeah, that's fine. But you do have about 20 minutes.
Right, well...
So...
Maybe... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you do have about 20 minutes, actually. Yeah, 25 minutes to be exact, so roughly.
I know, but I've got to get my sessions ready.
But, alright guys, so do we have any final questions? I'm a little bit concerned, maybe it's because we're not talking about sweet stuff. I've only heard from Abraham once today, so...
From who?
We only heard from Abraham once today. Usually he has something to say about 3 or 4 times per call, so...
Yeah, he had to leave. He left.
Okay. Well,
at about 10, I think. Or, 11, whatever time it is.
Yeah. Well, it's way later for him. Coming up next, of course, right now, there's still a half hour left of the Neighborhood Coffee Clutch, and of course, the Essential Oils with Haley. We've got Unmute Presents, Games to Play with Lady A, Helpful Hints and Homophones, Ins and Outs of Sight Loss, Audio Description Gala. We've got Braille Room, the She Shed, if you're a she and would like to go into a woodshed, or is it a woodshed? I don't know. I don't go in there, so I couldn't tell you. French, yep, I was getting the French. You got that. A lot of exciting calls happening on the community today. And be sure to join me tomorrow as we are going to have... I was getting my call mixed up with Lucy's here. Accessible online games. I was thinking Games to Play with Lady A. No, that's today. Accessible online games. So tomorrow it is at a different time than usual. It is going to be at 6 Eastern, and that is because I have a temporary part-time job, and I don't think they'd appreciate me being in front of a class and conducting a call. I don't know about you guys. I don't think that would go over too well, but
no.
No. So, we're going to, rather than cancel the call, we're going to be playing the RS Games 99 tomorrow. One of my favorites. So, the second time around playing that game, and, things got a little bit interesting on that call last time, I think, but things get interesting on a lot of those calls, so, make sure you join me for that tomorrow. And speaking of Lucy, she's back with you one more time tomorrow night as her and bartender Judy will serve up the drinks, and you all will serve up the hits as it's open mic night. So, make sure... Now, open mic doesn't mean you can be unmuted all the time. It just means that you get to perform, sing and dance, tell stories, all that. So, make sure you tune into that tomorrow night. And let's see what else. I think we're coming close now to the announcement of this month's Volunteer of the Award month winner.
Yeah, Friday.
Friday, yep. Yeah. Okay, so make sure you tune in Friday for that. And yeah, so that's all I've got for you guys at the moment. We're just waiting for the garlic bread to be done. Want to thank everybody who's made this call happen today, of course. Lucy and Tyann taking care of us over on the Zoom and the Clubhouse side, and a number of you with great contributions as always. And do we have any last comments from anyone? Chanel's still eating her stroganoff, so it must have turned out okay. I will be getting to mine right after the call, so. And it is definitely smelling good. Alright guys, well, on that note, we are going to go ahead and shut her down. My thanks to everybody once again for coming today. Next week, it's Wake, Make, and Bake meets Herbie's Cooking Corner. Janine and I, meatloaf, turkey loaf. I'll be doing the meatloaf, she'll be doing the turkey loaf. And we will see you all next time. Lucy and Tyann, you may end the respective rooms as my timer goes off for the garlic bread. Hey, Google, stop.
Bye.
And just a final note, as the cooking call kind of ended when things were getting ready, things turned out to be pretty delicious.